If we go to the next slide, we'll see this actually is pretty clear too. Summerport is another community just, a stone's throw away from here. Again, started in 2003. Prices jumped up very, very quickly. From $90 a square foot to 190, 180 maybe is our average, 170 in here, and then we've came down. A lot of activity, a lot of homes have sold in 2009, and so we have this data point of what maybe appears, we certainly aren't dropping at this rate we were here, so maybe we're flattening out. Hopefully that's our bottom. Don't know that it's going to be. Marion, go to the next slide, please. I'm not sure what okay, and then Belmere is another community up here in Windermere. Same story, $90 a square foot, up to $200 a square foot. We've come back down. Now, we don't see a lot of sales activity going on in that particular community right now, so it's hard to really get a read on what's happening. Are we at a bottom? Are we continuing to drop? It's hard to say. The next slide, I think we're going to show, okay, thank you. At this point, so are we at the bottom? We don't know. What's the recovery going to look like once we do hit that bottom? If we get 3 to 5% appreciation per year, now we're back down to a historic good real estate market. So are we going to be in a good real estate market once we hit bottom? Probably not going to get into it right away. It's probably going to take a while before we start seeing appreciation. We've got a lot of inventory in Florida, and it's Florida, California, Nevada, Arizona, the 4 states that are the worst on it. So we are dealing with it. They're not dealing with this in Kansas or Nebraska like we are here. So when you see national numbers out there, and you see a lot of reports on the national news, what's going on nationally, again, it's got to be tempered. What's going on in Florida? What's going on in Windermere or Ocoee? What's going on in your community? Really, those are the numbers that are most important to you. To consider that we've seen a 50% drop in value. If a home has gone from $200 a square foot to $100 a square foot, we've lost 50% of the value. That's bad. But what's even worse is to get back up to that $200 a square foot, you've got to get 100% appreciation. You have to double. And from an investment standpoint, if you can find an investment that doubles in any reasonable amount of time, you've got yourself a great investment. Historically, if you had a 10% return, it would take you 7 years to double your investment. If you had a 7% return, it would take you 10 years. If you're at 3 or 5%, it's going to take you much longer than 10 years. It might be 15 years, it may be 20 years. In fact, that's what the next slide is going to show us here. What we did, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. What we did is the very first slide I showed you was Cypress Landing, and we saw what the appreciation did. It went from $100 a square foot to $200 a square foot to maybe $130 a square foot. We put together a model, and unfortunately we can't read these dates out here. But what we did is we said, okay, let's say we're going to be at a flat point for about a year or so. Maybe we stay flat at $130 a square foot. And then for the next year, we grow at 1.5% a year. And then from there, we go 3% a year, year over year, to get back to that $200 a square foot. This date out here, 2023. 2023. It's a long time. And that's assuming that we've got 3% year over year. No bumps, no hiccups, nothing. We're just every year, year after year, we go up 3% a year. If we change this to 5%, this 2023 draws into like 2019. That's still, 10 years away. So one of the things I see a lot, I know Charlie and Carol Ann see a lot in their business, a lot of people think, you know what, I'm in trouble right now today. But you know what, I'm going to wait until next year. I'm going to put my home on the market next year. It's going to be a lot better. Next year, we're probably, again, no one knows, but next year we're probably going to be here. We're going to be at the same point if we're lucky. Hopefully we don't continue to go down. 3, 4, 5 years from now, maybe we're here. We're still painfully short of where we need to go. So that's the hard, cold reality of it. So again, I said earlier, I bought a home right here in 2005. I'm down here. If I look at it from an investment standpoint, it's the worst investment I've made. Fortunately for us, it was our home, and we're solvent. We don't need to go anywhere, and we have our roots. I just pray that continues. one of the things we do see when working with people who are in this situation is to get past this point here and understand that, okay, I'm not going to be able to turn this thing around overnight. What are my options? So if we go to the next slide, what we found is the depressed housing market has created two categories of people. Those who have the financial ability to continue to make a mortgage. Maybe it's, and it has to be 31 to 38% of your gross income is what the banks are going to be looking at for a reasonable mortgage. And then there are going to be those homeowners who don't have the ability to make any kind of mortgage payment. Maybe they've lost a job, they've had a problem with an illness, an accident, whatnot. So when that happens, their situation is certainly far more dire. And another cause of that might be the adjustable rate mortgages. A lot of people had adjustable rate mortgages that did reset, and now they simply can't afford the mortgage. So if we go to the next slide, so if we break up, again, looking at these two different groups of people, we'll see that for those who do have the ability to make a mortgage payment, there are going to be some different options. I think my pen's working here. The refinance, repayment, loan modification, reverse mortgage, HUD partial payment, and loan forbearance. Now, Carol Ann Licht is going to talk in depth about some of those options. The key to any of these solutions, of course, is there are going to be qualifying guidelines, and there are going to be consequences for them. None of this is going to be pain-free. It's going to affect, more likely it's going to affect your credit in one way or another and whatnot. Charlie Price is an attorney who's been involved with this type of stuff for quite a long time, and it's got a great level of expertise. We'll be speaking to the legal issues that I call legal issues: deed in lieu, short sale, foreclosure, and bankruptcy. And some of these might be good options too. What's important here, and again, our whole goal here today is to educate you folks and understand what's the pros and cons, what are my options, and what can we do. Certainly, your goal should be then to embrace that. Ask the questions that you need to understand. When we get into the breakout sessions, Carol Ann will talk, with regards to some of the financial issues. Charlie will talk to the legal issues, consumer credit counseling. If you need help understanding how do I work through my budget, how do I establish a budget, they'll be back here. And then likewise, I'll be back here in this portion of the room addressing real estate questions you might have. Frank, what's the value of my home? Because really that's important. Frank, what are the details, when you go through a short sale? How do you guys do that? Those are my area of expertise. So really, that just kind of sets us up to our next presenter. Charlie's actually going to be talking next with regards to the legal issues. He and Carol Ann, there will be some overlap in their material. If you look in your pamphlets, we're a little bit out of order. I think the legal issues might be the third group of slides, and that's what Charlie will present to. So hopefully this all makes sense, and I know Charlie's going to have some great information for us here that's going to help us.